Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sustainable and Green Solutions in Urban Environments mini-series. In this part, which is part 1 of 3, I will be emphasizing sustainability and green solutions and the role they play in these city environments. This is important because sustainability and green solutions are notoriously missing from these city environments, while also being the most needed here. To start, I want to talk about housing in these urban environments and the role they will be playing for future generations. So as of right now, about 50% of all living people live in city environments, with that number trending towards 68% by the year 2050. To put these numbers into perspective, there are about 4 billion, yes, 4 billion people currently living in cities, with that number expected to increase to over 6.5 billion by the year 2050. That is a crazy amount of people that need secure housing in the approaching future. Housing this many people is daunting enough, but just by looking at these numbers. But it is more than daunting due to the fact that our current urban infrastructure systems are already failing us. So in most cities worldwide, their buildings are typically shoulder to shoulder with no breathing room between. They also consist of miles of impervious concrete developing both outward and upward. Additionally, natural spaces such as parks and just trees are limited to small confines defined by city zoning. So going back to city infrastructure, it degrades very easily as it's normally made from concrete. It is only fixed when it's deemed necessary. And finally, traffic is a big issue in these cities, normally idling in the streets and releasing constant streams of carbon dioxide above city skies. These highlighted aspects of city living lead to, one, worsened disease and disease rates, worse natural disaster damage, diminished air quality, and a lower quality of life for residents. And I would like to just point this out, but yes, all of these pictures that are on this slide are of New York City. And no, I did not choose them on purpose. New York City just happens to be a very good case study for what not to do when planning and developing a city, just because it has so many issues. Even common practices like developing upward, which is done in New York City, due to space and expansion concerns, can cause more harm than good. In developing upward and confining a city to its limits, it causes the urban heat island effect. What this does is increase the average temperature of a city due to the immense amount of built material absorbing the sun's rays. Consequently, more electricity is expended cooling these buildings, releasing more carbon dioxide into the air through electricity generation. Thus, the urban heat island effect returns to its roots, as the city infrastructure and new carbon dioxide that was just released traps heat, leading to more electricity generated for cooling, which leads to more carbon dioxide released through electricity generation. Even though building up is used to mitigate space issues, it makes the issues of global warming and quality of life for residents much worse. On a side note, it also increases property value much higher than it should be in these city environments. Now, taking a look at Boston comparatively, we're actually pretty good at mitigating these issues. Boston is not built as much upward as outward, unlike other cities, letting the city sprawl into neighboring boroughs like Somerville. This allows the sun's rays to be absorbed across a broader spectrum instead of in a more condensed area. To allow these further parts like Somerville to reach the central Boston, the city of Boston has implemented systems like the T and the bus system, which allows for easy travel to and from the city. This also mitigates traffic concerns and carbon dioxide release. Boston also has great green spaces. A major green space in Boston is the Boston Commons, which I'm sure those who live in Boston know. But there are also many smaller green spaces in the forms of smaller parks and singular trees that purify the air. Despite all this good that Boston does, it does have a lot of issues concerning its green policies. In its quest to expand the city, it has let much of its infrastructure decay. One example of this is the T system. Although I did say it was a plus on the last slide for Boston, it's a negative due to the fact that over the past 50 years, they have not upkept it and it's starting to crumble. Sure, they're pouring funds into it now to update the system, but only as it's beginning to fall apart. This relates to the fact that much of the city is made from concrete, which degrades quickly under constant wear and needs to be repaired often. The tunnels of the T have been breaking down over the years, as I've mentioned, due to the concrete being under constant pressure from the buildings above, people walking above, cars above. Even if they're fixing degrading zones like the T, finally, it's only relegated mostly to affluent areas or areas of revenue. Lower income communities within Boston are normally excluded from this renovation. Regardless of these current issues, there is still hope for Boston in the future. In this video series, I will introduce you to sustainability topics and practices, followed by a remodel of a real building along Massachusetts Avenue. The plot is 631 Mass Ave, known as the Old Hotel Alexandra. It was developed in 1875 and has since fallen into disrepair. And although the Church of Scientology has bought this plot and plans to remodel it into a mega hotel, I honestly thought it would be more interesting to try and to develop this into something different and something that would serve the community of Boston much better than another hotel. In this redesign, I hope to develop a place for low income friendly living through sustainable building design.